Welcome to the Mind Over Money podcast with Jessen James.
Memories are not real. They appear real. Okay, now what does that mean? Well, let's be honest. If something happened to you years ago and you're still thinking about it now, you're almost feeling like you're living in the moment. You're reenacting that experience right now. It's a bit like anyone who suffers with post-traumatic stress disorder. Okay, now post-traumatic stress disorder is actually as if you are living the past trauma in the present, like you feel like you're going through it right now. So it brings up the same feelings, emotions, state, the whole lot, right? So here's the thing though, memories are not real. Now let me explain, okay? Look at the definition. The event that caused the memory is real. It's true, okay? Whatever happened, the event is real, okay? And here's the thing though, okay? Your internal representation, how you view what happened to you, has been changed over time. Which basically means the memory isn't actually real. It's adopted. It's adapted, should I say, to how you've grown as an adult. Okay, let me give you a perfect example. If something happened to you when you were a child, as a child, your memory of what happened were being put through children's filters, child filters, okay? You only know so much, okay? So it is what it is. And as you get older and turn into an adult and you start to reflect on what happened to you as a child, you now put that event, which was real, through your new filters as an adult, your new experiences, and you start going, hang on a minute, that was really bad what happened to me, and this could have happened, and this went on, and this went on, and you now start to overthink what happened to you as a child because you're putting it through adult filters. Therefore, your memory of what happened changes, because you're now looking at it with the eyes of an adult. I hope this is making sense to you. It's a bit like me when I was a kid. I remember being in school and a teacher telling me I was stupid. And whilst it dented my confidence and all that kind of stuff, I didn't really process it in the way that I've processed it now as an adult. So the event was real. He called me stupid, yes, in front of the whole class. And as I got older and I started to reflect back on what actually happened, I was like, hang on a minute. That really damaged me as a child, like emotionally. And I started to make up things in my head of what I was going through at that time. Look, it wasn't cool as a kid when that happened to me. However, my memory of it as a child wasn't as bad as the memory as an adult because I'd added to it, if that makes sense. So why am I explaining this to you? Because when you're talking to your clients, you've got to do the same with your clients. You've got to let them know that, hey, look, I get it, something happened to you, and I appreciate that. And the beautiful thing about emotional change therapy, by the way, is that we're not really interested, and the same as NLP, we're not really that interested in what happened, the event. What we're really interested in is how you are feeling, how you are processing it, what your internal representation, and we'll talk more about that throughout this training, how you view what happened to you. We're more interested in what you're feeling right now and how you view it. Because if we could change how you're feeling, change how you view it, change your focus, then that thing, we can't get rid of that thing that happened, but we can change how you process that, okay? And that's the beautiful thing about emotional change therapy. So when you're working with your clients, it's really important that you let them know this, that what happened to them, whilst it's significant, you're more interested as their coach or therapist, or mentor, whatever you want to describe yourself as. You're more interested in how it's making them feel right now. So let them know. Describe the memories frame to them. Let them know that memories are not real. The event is real, the memory is not real. What we need to work on together is a different internal representation, just like this definition says. We need to work on a different internal representation so that you can move forwards and move on with your life. Okay, cool. Next. So conscious mind, unconscious mind. Now look, here's the thing. Your conscious mind is where you consciously think of things, okay? And that's quite obvious, all right? You consciously think of things. Like, for example, you might be consciously thinking of what to eat right now. I hope you're not, you should be studying, okay? But you might be consciously thinking, I'm hungry, I'm gonna consciously think of what I wanna eat, okay? Now, prior to you being hungry, you weren't actually thinking about what to eat, okay? You know where to get food and what's available because it's in your unconscious mind, it's stored in your memory, but you didn't bring it to your conscious mind until you needed to, and you had a signal, which was starting to feel hungry, that went, What should I eat? Okay, so it's a conscious thought. So conscious mind is where we keep conscious thoughts. Now here's the challenge with the conscious mind. It can only store between 5 and 9 things at any given time. It can only store between 5 and 9 things. That's the rough range of the conscious mind, all right? So any more than that, the conscious mind gets jarred, okay? You can't consciously think of too many things at the same time. Now, here's the thing. The conscious mind acts as a trigger, an instruction, to go into the unconscious mind and access information that is saved. Now, the unconscious mind, you probably guessed it by now, is kind of like your hard drive. It's where everything's stored, all your memories, all your experiences, all your knowledge, all the information that you've absorbed over the years. Even what you're learning right now is recording in your unconscious mind, you know? So things that, and your unconscious mind is also where you have these deep hidden thoughts, desires, needs, wants, and some of them we don't even know that they're there, okay? Now, you're going to learn a lot more about the conscious and unconscious mind when you come along to the live training, but for now, you just need to understand that you have conscious thoughts which trigger off a connection between your conscious mind and your unconscious mind, and then your conscious mind now goes looking for the information that it requires in your unconscious mind. A bit like the food we was talking about earlier on, okay? You consciously say you're hungry, you go searching your unconscious mind, I wonder what's available to eat right now, where can I go and get some food, okay? Same like your phone number. If I said to you right now, what's your phone number? You weren't consciously thinking about your phone number until I asked you. So I gave you a conscious instruction. Remember, you can only store 5 to 9 instructions or things in your conscious mind at any given time. I gave you a conscious instruction, which made you access your unconscious mind, which is where you store your number, to recall your number. So that's how the conscious mind and unconscious mind works. It's what we call conscious mind, unconscious mind integration. Okay. So often people say that they have a memory problem. They say, oh, I can't remember stuff. I can't remember stuff. It's not a memory problem that they have. It's actually a conscious mind, unconscious mind integration problem that they have. Now, how do you solve that? So look, let's use an example of arriving at a road traffic accident. And the person who's just been in the accident, I want you to imagine for a moment, you just arrived on the scene. The person who's just been in the accident, they're in a state of shock. They're in a state of worry, confusion, stress, anxiety. They don't know, disorientated, whatever's going on. And you try and ask them what happened, what's their name, what's their phone number. Chances are they don't know what happened. They don't know where they are. They don't know what the number is, and they don't know what what planet they're on at the moment. Why? Because their conscious mind is full already. Remember, between 5 and 9 things. It's already full with a lot of conscious things going on right now. A lot of stress, anxiety, worry, whatever it might be. So there's no room for a new instruction such as what happened to go in. All right, and access the unconscious recording of what just happened to them. Now, what happens a couple of hours later with the same person who was in this accident? Let's say now we go to the hospital where they are, you go along with them. 2 hours later, they start to return to baseline, start to come down, and they go, hang on, I remember who I am. I remember what happened. I remember my number. What's changed between 2 hours from the event and the actual event? Their conscious mind has started to empty, which has allowed room for new instruction. Okay, so let's say they had 5 things going in their head, like stress, anxiety, worry, whatever it might be, and it was full, and now they're calming down a little bit. There's space for your conscious instruction of what happened to go in, access the unconscious recording of what happened, and regurgitate what happened. I hope this is making sense. So it's a bit like us when we're stressed. We can't remember stuff, It's a bit like when you're, I don't know, maybe you've done this before where you're thinking of something. You go, what's that thing? What's that thing? What's that thing? And you're getting stressed out about, I can't remember. What's that thing? What's that thing? What's that thing? You can't remember it. And then what happens at midnight before you're about to go to bed and you're just winding down, go, that's that thing. Yeah. And it comes back to you. Why? Because your conscious mind's starting to calm down. It's allowing space for the what's that thing instruction to go in to access the unconscious recording that you've got of it. Okay. So I hope that's making sense. Okay. So look, in coaching and mentoring, it's very, very important that you tell your clients that the conscious mind sets the intention. The unconscious mind goes and gets it. Now, what do I mean by this? Look, many of your clients will say that they want desired state. They'll say to you, look, hey, and you'll do this with them and we'll teach you how to do this. You'll elicit where they are right now and where they want to be. Okay, it's very, very simple. Undesired state is where they are. Desired state is where they want to be. Okay, it's very, very simple. And your clients will tell you consciously, I want desired state, okay? They want to be here. Here's the problem though. Deep down in their unconscious mind, they don't necessarily believe it or have the tools to go and do it. So your job is to create a conscious mind, unconscious mind connection, okay? Your job as a coach, as a therapist, is to help them not just set these intentions of wanting the desired state, but connect it on an unconscious level, which we'll teach you about, so that they actually go and do it. Otherwise, they'll have a conscious mind, unconscious mind disconnect. Your conscious mind and conscious mind need to be connected for you to move forward. For example, if they say that they want to lose weight, but deep down they don't believe they can do it, they'll never do it. But if they say they want to lose weight and they deep down, unconscious mind, believe they can do it, bang, we've got conscious mind, unconscious mind integration. It's going to happen, okay? So conscious mind sets the intention, unconscious mind goes and gets it. Really, really important that you help your clients achieve that. Now, some of the work that you'll be doing is also around beliefs, okay? How do you get your client to actually believe it's possible to have desired state? Because at the end of the day, I meet so many coaches and trainers and therapists out there that help their clients set goals. All right, next. This one is so important. Cause and effect. All right, really, really important. Not just for your client, but for you as well. This is really, really important. Okay, so let me explain what I mean. All right, when your client first meets you, most of the time, I won't say all of the time because some people are a bit more resourceful, but most of the time when your client meets you and they're at undesired state, as in problems just occurred, they're usually at what we call effect. What this means is they are going to blame someone or something for what has happened to them. Okay, they might blame the economy, they might blame their job, they might blame their employer, they might blame their partner, their kids, their finances, their situation. There'll be a lot of finger pointing going on, all right? And as my mentor taught me once, is when there's one finger pointing at you, there's three pointing back. When there's one finger pointing at someone else, there's three pointing back at yourself, okay? So cause and effect is basically this, yeah? A client on effect, as in they're on effect side of what's just happened. This has happened to me, blah, 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 all this kind of stuff. They're gonna be blaming someone, okay? They're always gonna be looking for pinning it on someone else. Your goal is to help them move over to cause, all right? We can't change what's happened, and you can't control what someone's done to you, but you can change how you process and respond to it, and you can also prevent it from happening again. So what your goal is to help them move to cause. This is really, really important because as it says here, you know, when they're in cause, they'll see the reason why their situation occurred in the first place so that they can get a better result next time. For example, if someone is blaming, I don't know, the economy, saying that, look, because prices have gone up, inflation's at an all-time high, it's the government's fault, it's the economy's fault. Blaming doesn't serve them. So your goal as a coach and a therapist is to move them over to cause. Okay, well, look, how can we help you look at it in a different way and go, right, what have I done to create this situation where I'm now worried about inflation? What have I done? Maybe I haven't taken my finances seriously. Maybe I haven't saved up enough. Maybe I haven't increased my earning potential. Maybe I've just been coasting on what I need, not what I want. You've got to help them get more resourceful because at the end of the day, you can't change what's happened. But if you can help your client see why it's happened, then it won't happen again. Okay, and it's like if anything, okay, if every time they blame someone else for how they feel, for example, oh, that person, they let me down, that's why I'm feeling like this. Well, you can't go around your whole life blaming everyone all the time. So and it's not the last time someone's going to let you down, okay? They're going to do it again. So what do you need to do? You need to help your client look beyond blaming someone and go, right, how can I be more resourceful and behave differently next time someone lets me down? Because if I can change the way I perceive being let down, then I won't really feel let down, okay? So cause and effect is very, very powerful, very, very powerful beliefs as a coach, okay? Which leads me on to the next one. Please, coaches, therapists, super duper 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 important for you to get this one, okay? When you're working with clients, again, undesired state, and they want to move over to desired state. A lot of clients, if you're not careful, will pin all of their hopes on you, okay? They'll say like, yeah, great, you know, my coach, my therapist, they're going to help me. They're going to make sure I get to where I want to go. which is true to a certain extent because you're going to give them tools, you're going to give them a recipe to follow. But here's the problem. If they don't do what you ask them to do, they won't get the results. And this is the problem, because a lot of people are blaming coaches and therapists at times, saying it didn't work, I mean, you didn't do it, but they haven't actually followed it to a T. It's a bit like a recipe for a cake. If I gave you a cake recipe right now, and you went home and you took out some of the ingredients, there's no way on earth you're going to get the same cake. Okay, it's going to be a completely different cake. So it's a bit like this. If you are telling your clients to do something step by step by step by step, and they don't follow those instructions, they're not going to get the results that they're looking for. And ultimately, they're going to blame you, all right? So this next belief here, results versus excuses, okay? You've got to tell your client this, okay? So remember, most of them are on the side of effect when they meet you. When they're in their undesired state, they're blaming someone, okay? Now, you'll see this here. It says here, if your client is always on the side of effect, they will never achieve their goals and will always have excuses. This is really, really true, okay? They will always blame someone or something, including you, if you're not careful, okay? But if you help them get on the side of cause, they will always get what they want and they'll always feel great because they will take responsibility. This is really, really important, okay? So help them to get onto the side of cause, okay? Next, perception is projection, okay? What do we mean by this? Well, look, at the end of the day, all we ever have as coaches, therapists, individuals, human beings, is a perception of what's going on, okay? And you're going to learn more about what creates our perception later on. But all we ever have is a perception of what's going on. What's happening right now? What's going on right now, okay? And right now, you're all having a perception of what's going on. I'm talking to you. You're looking at this screen. Your perception is that I'm in the studio here talking to you through a screen. Or am I? Maybe this is just an illusion. But at the end of the day, whatever we perceive, we are going to, we're going to project. Okay. So for example, if you walk into a room right now and just before you're about to go in a room, your perception is everyone's going to turn and stare at you. As soon as you walk into that room, what do you see? Everybody's staring at you. Am I right? Well, what if you walked into that room and you didn't actually perceive anyone was staring at you, but they were still looking at you? You wouldn't see anyone looking at you. Yes, this is my whole point. Okay, so perception is projection. Okay, it's a bit like when you're, late for work and you're going towards the red light. You're like, don't go red, don't go red, don't go red. Oh, the red light has gone red. Yeah, you perceived it was going to go red. It went red. Okay, what happens on the days when you're not in a rush and you don't even care about the traffic lights? You don't really see them going red, they're green, aren't they? Okay, so whatever you perceive, you will actually project onto others. Okay, it's a bit like business. I teach this to entrepreneurs all the time in sales. Okay, if your perception is what you're selling is expensive, you are going to project that perception onto your clients and you're going to tell them or think that it's expensive too. I remember going into a clothes shop once and picking up a jacket. I loved the jacket. It was only £500. It wasn't a lot of money, but the salesperson, the young lady, she came up to me and said, "Hey, that's a lovely jacket. It's a bit expensive, isn't it? Should I see if I can get you a discount?" Now, don't get me wrong. You can take me out of East London. You can take me out of East London, but you can't take East London out of me. I'll take a discount all day long. But she didn't need to do that, because she projected her perception onto me. I would have paid 500 quid. As a result, I got 10% off, 50 quid. Yes, get in. But here's the thing. She didn't have to do that. But she did it because she projected her perception onto me. Yeah, my perception was, good deal, 500 quid, I'll take one. Her perception was, nice jacket, but it's a bit pricey. Does it make sense? Okay. So look, at the end of the day, all we have is a perception. All we have is a perception of people, situations, and circumstances. We project our perception onto others, and thus it becomes our reality. Why am I telling you this? Because that's your client as well. If their perception is everything goes wrong in my life, they're going to see everything going wrong. It's just how it is. Yeah, it's like when you start the day off and you have a bad day, and like, it's going to be one of those days. You start to see more things that are going wrong. But if your perception was it's a great day no matter what, you wouldn't pay half the things that are going on any attention. Okay, so you've got to understand. And there's a quote by Napoleon Hill, I think, is whatever the mind can believe, it will, whatever the mind can perceive, it will believe, or something like that. I can't remember the quote, whatever it is. Okay, whatever the mind can conceive, it will believe and therefore achieve. Okay, I've adjusted that slightly, and I say whatever the mind can perceive, it will believe and therefore achieve. Okay, so whatever the mind perceives, it will achieve and whatever the mind perceives, it will believe and therefore achieve. Think about that. We perceive something, we believe it, we achieve it. We perceive that people are going to think something's expensive when we're selling it to them. We now believe that thing is expensive, and we believe these people are going to say it's expensive. What do we meet? People who say it's expensive. Okay, so perception is projection is very, very powerful. Okay, so you must learn this a lot for yourself, but also when you're talking to your clients, must train them on this, teach them about this. Okay, because they're going to perceive a lot of things. They're going to perceive that the whole world is falling apart. They're going to perceive that it's hard. They're going to perceive that they're stuck. Yeah, think about a child, for example. A child pre-7 years old, no filters, no worries, no judgments, no scared, you fear, whatever it might be. They don't have any real perception other than everything is beautiful just the way it is, okay? As they get older, they start to perceive things differently, okay? So I want you to help your clients become more childlike, okay? Start tapping into that innocence of a child so that they don't look at everything with filters on it.
You've been listening to the Mind Over Money podcast with Jessen James. Don't forget to subscribe and follow on all the channels, links in the show notes. Please also leave a review and visit www.jessenjames.com to find more resources on how to create the life you deserve.